guys, welcome to my channel. So today's class is a little bit different perhaps from the stereotypical ones that I've been doing previously. So this is a little bit more like a tutorial for learning to flip the grip, but there will be probably about a 15-minute flow that would prepare us for that, because obviously we need to be warmed up and adequately prepared to tackle such a thing. So it's a little bit different. There'll be, like I say, a section of a yoga flow and then a section where I'll be sort of talking through technique and how to sort of approach that sort of thing, because it's one of those movements, it's one of those things that is just too complicated to instruct mid-flow. Like, there's too many things to say, and it's something that I think, well, the reason I'm doing it is lots of people have said, yes, I really want to be able to learn that. There's just too many bits and bobs to sort of instruct to simply throw it into the middle of a flow. It breaks up the sort of the nice smooth flowiness of a class. So I'm going to break it down sort of workshop style, but after we've done a warm-up. So you probably, if it's something that you're working on, the likelihood is you're going to need a strap. Now, it doesn't have to be a specific yoga strap. You can use a scarf or like a tie, but you can have a traditional yoga strap, which is a long one. I'm going to be using sort of both. These shorter ones, which are called infinity straps, really useful when you're learning to flip your grip, because it creates you a handle already for your hand and a handle for your foot. So you don't have to sort of fiddle about with grips. But I will be using a long one for some warm-up exercise and stuff. So if you do have something like a scarf or a yoga strap, have that nearby. This one is more sort of optional. You don't need to have this one. This one will do everything. So have those nearby so that you're ready. I've even got myself a little list of things that I want to remember to say, because I have a tendency to just blah, 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 and then I'll forget what I wanted to say. So just before we move into the warm-up, if you're unfamiliar with it, a flipped grip is essentially holding your own foot behind your head. You can do a flipped grip in lots of different poses. So you can do it in King Dancer, King Pigeon, bow. What else can you do it in? Low lunge, like anything where you are in some sort of shape and you are then holding that foot behind your head. And I guess it's called a flipped grip, even though that's probably a casual term for it. It's probably not very official, is because you flip your arm over from holding your foot and you flip it to then go behind your back. So I'll be breaking down sort of how to do that movement and how to work towards it once we have warmed up. So when you're ready, we're going to start. So, one thing I was going to say is that it might be obvious to some, but flipping the grip and holding your foot behind your head is a back bend. Obviously, perhaps not obviously if you're perhaps new to this sort of practice. So we're going to be warming up lots of back bend type things. Obviously, there's lots of shoulders. And this is something that I find an interesting terminology in the yoga world, is that we say, shoulder flexibility, to sort of do this. And obviously it is. This is the movement in the shoulder. But what is going to allow that movement is flexibility in the side body, along the chest, sort of along your lats. It's not your shoulder muscles particularly. I mean, obviously there needs to be a range there as well. But if you think about the range of motion that you need for your arms to come all the way up and then to keep going behind your ears, that's length and that's flexibility all along your side body, across the front of your chest, so that your arms can move backwards. So as much as we might say, I'm working on my shoulder flexibility for your flipped grip, don't think, what's my shoulder stretch? Think side body stretches. I mean, we're going to do them all in the warm-up, but think of it as back bending, but also your whole sort of torso needs to be sort of flexible to be able to get there. So with that in mind, we're going to start in tabletop, all fours, so your wrists right underneath your shoulders, hips above your knees, and then as you inhale, dropping your ribs to the mat, lifting your chest, gazing forwards. As you exhale, rounding the spine, chin to the chest, really pressing your spine to the sky. Good. Inhale. All the way through, lift the chest. Think of squeezing the muscles around your lower back. As you exhale, rounding, pushing into the hands. Again, as you inhale all the way through. And as you exhale, rounding, tucking the tailbone and really doming the spine. Good. Again, one last time. Inhale all the way through. Shoulder blades squeeze together. Puff the chest forwards. Exhale to round. and chin to the chest. Really push through the arms, broaden the shoulder blades. Great, we're then going to sit down onto the heels, taking an inhale, reach the arms to the sky. As you exhale, take your left hand across onto the floor next to you, lean across towards that left side. Push your hips towards your right, so here we're getting into the side body. Reach your arm away from the torso, and depending on what sort of range you have here, you might want to choose to drop down to the elbow, but that is quite a deep side body stretch, so remember that you're not that warm yet, so go wherever it feels most appropriate for your flexibility. Use an inhale, both arms up to the sky. As you exhale, coming over to the right, place the right hand down, fingertips up and over, pushing the hips a little bit to the left, and take some nice deep breaths into that left side of the rib cage. Good, with an inhale, come all the way back up. You're going to interlace your hands in front of you. Press the palms away as the chin comes to the chest, rounding the upper back, just like when you do cat pose, but sat differently. Then releasing, hands behind your back, interlace into a fist. Inhale, puff the chest to the sky, fist towards the floor. Very similar to cow pose, but sat differently. So drawing the shoulder blades together, broaden the space between the shoulder heads. And then again, the hands to interlace in front of you. Press the palms away, chin to the chest, broadening the shoulder blades. Releasing, hands behind your back. Inhale, down to the floor. Puff the chest to the sky. Good, and then from here, just sat onto your heels as long as you're comfortable, taking your nice long strap. One of my favourite shoulder mobility exercises. Take the strap about as wide as your mat, maybe a little bit wider if you're new to this. Keeping the arms straight and the strap taut. As you inhale, take the strap above your head, keep your ribs pulling in. And as you exhale, let the strap drop down behind you with control, noticing where the harder points of the stretch are. Inhale, take it all the way back to the sky. Exhale, bringing it down in front of you. Good, we'll go again. Inhale, taking it all the way up. Keep pulling the strap apart as though you're trying to rip it into two. Exhale, take it behind the back. Shoulder blades squeeze together. Inhale, up to the sky. Exhale, down towards your thighs. Obviously widening your hands if you're struggling and you're not able to make it up and over, or narrowing your hands if that has become easy. So you're challenging the mobility in your shoulders. Inhale, taking it up. Exhale, taking it over. One more time, inhale, going up, and exhale, coming over. Great, hopefully you can almost feel that in the shoulders already and across the front of your chest, particularly when it goes behind you, which is our important direction. So from here, taking the hands back onto the mat, we're going to come into downward facing dog. So tuck the toes, float the knees, press the thighs backwards and think of belly towards thighs, and then pressing your sit bones to the sky to find a little extra length through the back of the legs. And if you want to take a little pedal, then go for it. Keeping that broadness between the shoulder blades, so they're wrapping around towards the face. So we're trying to keep the shoulders strong here. There's a nice straight line between the wrists and the sit bones. We're pushing into the hands. And remember, having strength in the shoulders is almost just as important, if not more, because you do not want some crazy range of motion, in which point the shoulder is then unstable as it moves through something and we might cause ourselves injury. So building strength, down dog, is your perfect place to strengthen and stretch the shoulders. So keep pushing into the hands. Think of the crown of the head rising away from the mat. Take another nice deep breath here. On the exhale, walking the feet into the top of the mat. Keeping your hands onto the mat as long as you can, feet are hip distance apart once they get there. Keeping that soft bend in the knees so the belly and thighs are nicely squished together. And then interlacing the hands behind your back. Keep the heels of the hands as close together as you can. Take an inhale, lift the fist away from the body, squeeze the shoulder blades to help you do so. Make sure the neck is floppy, the head is dangling, and you're lifting the fist towards the sky. Depending on how far you've gone, you're then thinking of fist falling towards the floor in front of you. Let yourself have that nice big hamstring stretch as well, so you're pushing your hips upwards, but keep squishing your belly to your thighs, so you're holding your core in tight. Think of broadening across the chest as you breathe into the front of the lungs. As you breathe out, keep allowing the upper body to be heavy as the fist falls overhead. Lovely, release your hands, let them come to your shins as you inhale, halfway lift. So drawing the chest out long in front of you, sit bones and thighs press back, and and you're keeping your shoulders away from the ears. Good. As you exhale, folds, belly to thighs, dangling through the head. On the inhale, using a flat back, rise all the way up to stand, reaching the arms high. And as you exhale, release your arms alongside the body. Bringing your feet a little closer together to find your mountain pose. Shoulders down, away from the ears, finding a nice firm core. So we're holding our tummy back towards our spine. So as we inhale, we're going to take the arms to the sky. The hips can push a little bit forwards as we go up and over into a small standing back bend. As we exhale, slowly returning the hands to the mat, soften the knees so the fingertips can find the floor. Inhale, halfway lift, chest is forwards. Exhale, hands to the mat, right foot steps back, lower down onto the knee. Using an inhale, lift the torso, reach the arms high. Again, think up and over, press into the ball of the back foot. As you exhale, hands back to the floor, stepping back into a plank. Inhale into your high plank. As you exhale, drop your knees where they are, supported plank, sit bones to the sky, chest comes to your thumbs as your chin rests onto the mat, look forwards. As you inhale, ripple down onto your belly, lift your chest as you squeeze your shoulder blades together, baby cobra. Exhale, tucking the toes, rolling via the knees, hips to the sky, downward facing dog. On your next inhale, right leg lifts to the sky for your three-legged down dog. On the exhale, draw the knee underneath the body, place the foot in between the hands, lower down onto the back knee. Inhale, draw the chest and the arms high, lift up to the sky, think going backwards, push the hips forwards and down. Exhale, hands to the floor, back foot steps in to meet the front foot. Inhale, halfway lift, spine is nice and long. Exhale to forward fold, dangle the head, belly to thighs. Inhale, rising all the way up to stand, and again, hips go forward, think chest to the sky, arms reaching up and back. Exhale, slowly returning, soften the knees, hands to the mat, forward fold. Inhale, halfway rise. Exhale, hands down, left foot, step it back, lower down onto that back knee. With your next inhale, lift your torso, reach your arms high, keep pressing into the ball of the back foot, squeezing through the glutes. Exhale, hands return to the mat, step the foot back, high plank, inhale into your plank. Exhale, dropping the knees, send the sit bones to the sky as the chest and the chin come to the mat. Inhale, rippling down onto the belly, lift the chest, squeeze the shoulder blades, press your pelvis into the mat. Exhale, rolling back, hips to the sky, downward facing dog. With your next inhale, left leg reaches up into your three-legged. On the exhale, draw the knee underneath the body, foot comes between the hands and dropping down onto the knee. Inhale, send the arms back to the sky. Hips are pushing towards the front edge of your mat. And then as you exhale, hands to the floor, stepping the back foot in. Inhale to halfway lift. And as you exhale, forward fold. Inhale, we're going up and over, small standing back bend. Go to the ceiling first, then hips migrate forward, squeeze the thighs together. As you exhale, return nice and straight, return the hands to your sides into mountain pose. Great, building on that, so that's our sun salute C. We're going to expand on that as you inhale again, up to the sky, hips go forwards, chest goes back. Exhale to forward fold, keep the sit bones pushing up and press your belly onto your thighs. Inhale, halfway rise. Exhale, hands to the floor, stepping the foot back, right foot, dropping down onto your right knee. This time as you inhale, lift your torso, interlace your hands behind your back and just release yourself a little pointy stick of your index finger. As you exhale, draw the finger down the inner thigh, puffing the chest towards the ceiling and driving the hips forwards and down. So there's a big broadness across your chest. You're squeezing your shoulder blades together and dropping the fingertips towards the mat. Doesn't matter how far down that thigh you go. Take another breath in. As you exhale, uncurl, hands come to the mat, stepping back into high plank. Inhale in high plank. Exhale, knees, chest and chin to the mat. Keep your sit bones into the sky. Inhale, try to keep the knees and the hands where they are. Belly comes to the mat, lifting the chest, baby cobra. Exhale, rolling back via tucked toes, hips to the sky into your down dog. With your right leg as you inhale, lift the foot to the sky, three-legged dog. As you exhale, knee underneath the body, foot between the hands. Keep the back knee lifted this time. As you inhale, rising into your high lunge, crescent lunge. Keep the hips sinking forwards and down, so we're really thinking back bend here. Inhale, keep the chest lifting, squeeze those left glutes. Exhale, hands to the floor, back foot steps in, meets the front foot. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale to forward fold. Inhale, rising all the way up, keep the thighs squeezing together. Lift the chest to the sky, fingertips up and over. Exhale to fold, returning the hands to the mat, dangling the head, soften the neck. Inhale, halfway lift. And as you exhale, hands down, just the left foot, steps to the back of the mat, lowering down onto the knee. Lift your torso away from your thigh, find that interlace behind your back again. Release your index finger. With your next inhale, draw the fist towards the mat. Keep your chest puffing to the sky and really press into the ball of that back foot, because the lower your hips can drop, the more sort of you can reach back with your fingers, and maybe one day they find the mat. Squeezing those glutes, drive the hips down. Inhale here. Exhale, hands to the mat. Frame the front foot as you step back into plank. Inhale. Exhale, dropping the knees, supported plank. Chest is coming to your thumbs, elbows close towards your ribs. Inhale, ripple down onto your belly, lifting the chest, gaze forwards. Exhale, make your way back, downward facing dog. With your next inhale, left leg reaches to the sky, right heel keeps pressing down for your three-legged dog. Exhale, bringing the foot to the top of the mat between the hands, keep onto the ball of the back foot, and as you inhale, lift the torso, reach the arms up and over. Think of taking your arms not just to the sky, so with your gazes forwards, you're taking your arms back beyond your ears. So keep squeezing your shoulder blades together, reach the fingertips towards the sky. Breathing in. As you breathe out, hands coming to the mat, stepping the back foot in to meet the front foot. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale to forward fold. Inhale, rising all the way up to stand. Hips are pushing forward, a little squeeze through your glutes as the chest lifts to the sky. And as you exhale, release your hands alongside your body. Good, so again as you inhale, we're going to go up and over, standing back bend. As we exhale, forward fold, fingertips to the mat, sit bones pressing high. Inhale, halfway lift. This time as we exhale, placing both hands down, we're going to step back into a downward facing dog. So we're going to switch up our down dog a little bit to really focus on some shoulder and upper body flexibility. So in our down dog, usually we've got nice broad shoulder blades. We're keeping a nice long line from wrists to sit bones. The ribs are hugging in, so we're trying not to sort of flare them down towards the mat. Although those of us with flexible shoulders will know that it's a lot easier or feels a lot more comfortable to sit your ribs down. So you might want to sort of watch the different shape that I make here. So we've gone from regular down dog. We're then going to let the shoulder blades start to squeeze together. We're pushing the ribs forward, so we're thinking back bend. The sit bones push to the sky, and I'm thinking of bringing my forehead down towards the mat. Now, it doesn't matter how close to the mat you get, obviously, and being able to touch the mat is a huge range in the shoulders. So try not to be sort of forcing your body further than it needs to be. Taking your hands a little bit further away, so lengthening your down dog is also a little bit more comfortable for some people. So from your down dog, let the shoulder blades start to squeeze together. Keep pushing into the palms of the hands. So we're keeping active range here. We're pushing down, strong in the upper body, even though we're stretching. We're thinking of letting the head relax, drop down towards the floor. Sit bones are still pushing up. And finding a nice big stretch along the front of the chest and into the shoulders. Now press into the hands to bring yourself back. Find a normal down dog, and your shoulders are probably feeling quite, fatigued perhaps. So as you inhale, right leg to the sky just for a moment. Exhale, drawing the knee under the body, placing it between the hands and dropping down onto your back knee. Right. So coming to rise into your low lunge, keeping your back toes tucked if that's available for you. Depends what your ankle is like. So we're going to take cow face arms with our lower with our low lunge. So right arm is going to reach up and drop down between the shoulder blades. Left hand is going to come to find those fingertips. If this is a struggle for you, this is where you can use a strap in the right hand. Drop it down between the shoulder blades and see if you can find the strap. Now, little word of warning, if perhaps you can't find your own fingertips, that's a good indication that your flexibility in the shoulders, you're going to find it hard to flip your grip. So really working with the strap on wriggling your fingertips close towards each other and working on your cow face arms. So in cow face arms, the top arm is squeezing in towards the head. The bottom elbow is tucking in behind the rib cage. Remembering we're still lunging, press into the ball of the back foot, squeeze through the glutes. Now inhale, lift your chest to the sky. As you exhale, let your hands come to the mat. We're going to step back into a down dog, a regular down dog. We're not going to open into the shoulders this time. Take a nice big inhale here. I suppose that's a word of a lie, because we're going to come into dolphin and open our shoulders in another way. So you can step down one elbow at a time. Palms to the floor or palms together, your choice. Let your head dangle so your gaze is back towards your toes. Doesn't matter how far in you walk your feet, we're focusing on the upper body here. So push the elbows down, press your chest back towards your thighs. So you're thinking of sending your ears beyond your upper arms, just like you would in a flipped grip. So what you can think of here is you're in what would be a flipped grip sort of state, as in the shoulders and the arms are reaching back behind your head. You're just sort of flipped upside down in a different way. So keep pushing your elbows down, press your chest back towards your thighs. Breathe in. As you breathe out, either take a little rest in child's pose if you need, or make your way back up into down dog. Broadening through those shoulder blades, sit bones to the sky, taking a nice few deep breaths. Great, down dog for everyone. If you want to rejoin us, if you took a pause, on the inhale, left leg reaches to the sky, three-legged dog. Exhale, drawing the knee underneath the body, placing the foot between the hands, dropping down onto the back knee. Back toes stay tucked as you come to rise towards your low lunge. We're then doing cow face on the other side. So again, you can choose to use a strap. If you're right-handed, generally this is going to be the harder side for you. So reach that left arm up, drop it down between your shoulder blades, wriggle that right arm behind you and see if you can find your own fingertips. Obviously, again, using a strap if you need to. Top elbow, squishing in towards the head. And as you inhale, keep lifting the chest to the sky. Tuck that bottom elbow right behind your rib cage. Press into the ball of the back foot, drive those hips forwards and down. Take a nice big inhale. And as you exhale, release. Hands to the mat. We're nearly done now, stepping back into your down dog. Finding that broadness across the shoulder blades, push the hips towards the sky. Good. One last inhale here. As you exhale, drop the knees down so you've come back to tabletop. We're going to come into tiger, just a short little tiger hold. So left leg is going to reach to the sky. Right arm is going to come to find, this is another pose, I missed it off my list, that you could work a flip grip in. So once you've held on to that left foot with your right hand, you're going to kick the foot towards the sky, lift the chest and look forwards, and keep thinking of strength in the leg to go towards the sky to help your upper body stay open. Great, breathing in. As you breathe out, letting go of the foot, seeing if you can bring it all the way underneath the body to the front of the mat. So you've come into a bit of a, and then kneeling up, you come into a bit of a shorter lunge. So obviously when we're doing back bends and we're trying to reach our foot behind our head, the closer our foot can be to the back of the head, the easier that's going to be. And that is in our back bend and therefore into our hip flexor and quad. So we're going to do a nice big quad stretch on the right. So start to lunge forwards into the front foot. We're going to bend the back knee, foot to the sky, and maybe just holding the foot sort of comfortably, well, I say comfortably, holding the foot behind you. And perhaps you're feeling balanced to be able to take both hands to the feet. You can then come a little bit more upright, tuck the tailbone as you draw the heel in towards your bum. So it's King Arthur stretch, I'm not quite sure. Oh, maybe it's called this because you like kneel down if you're knighted or something, I don't know. Anyway, King Arthur stretch. pulling your heel in towards your bum, really tuck your tailbone. That's where the effectiveness of this stretch come in, not the yanking of the leg. Tuck the tailbone underneath. Lovely. So we're then going to take this to perhaps the next level. So releasing your foot gently, let it move away from you. I'm going to step my back knee back a little bit. So I've made more distance between my front and my back foot. So it's a variation on a low lunge where we're going to bend the back knee with the right hand. So this is a rotation in the shoulder, which is very similar to a flipped grip and is a good way to sort of work your way up to it. So get your fingertips to face the same direction as your toes. You've sort of held onto your foot, fingertips pointing same direction as your toes. I've lost my balance. And then you're going to draw your foot in towards your bum, just as you did before. Now your elbow, because the eye of your elbow is facing to the sky, as you can see in my hand there, elbow is to the sky. The elbow is going to stick out towards, I guess, your left. It's then going to stack up on top of your hand as you push your foot in. So now you're into this sort of, I don't know what it's called. I think the pose is called Kontasana, but I don't know what that translates at. But your fingertips and your toes are now pointing towards the front of the room. You've then got the strength to press down to really get into that quad stretch. I mean, it's pretty huge. This is one of the biggest quad stretches for me. So pushing down through the foot. If your rotation didn't work there, don't worry, just hold the foot. You might even want to take it in towards your elbow, holding the foot in towards your bum, keep dropping the hips down towards the mat. And then gently releasing it in whichever one you've got. Try not to let it slingshot away from you. Taking your hands to the mat, bringing your knee back so you're in tabletop, and then we're going to come to tiger on the right leg. So this quad's already had a nice stretch, so should feel a little bit more open. So right foot to the sky, left hand to come to find it. Kick the foot into the hand, lifting the toes to the sky, opening through the front of the chest. Breathing in. And then as you breathe out, hands to come to the mat, draw the knee under the body, placing it between the hands. So again, we've got a bit of a shortened lunge as we then come up into a boxy lunge. We're going to send the foot to the sky, looking to hold on to the foot in whichever way is comfortable really for this one. There's not too much sort of specificness to holding the foot. Maybe both hands can find it. And then again, you're sort of coming upright. So you're trying to find a straight line. I've got a dodgy knee on this side, so I'm not going to do it so much. A straight line between your knee and your torso. Really tuck your tailbone under. It's like you're trying to press your pelvis out to the front of the room. Breathing in to keep the chest lifted. Breathing out to keep that heel pulling in. Tailbone tucking under. Press the quad forwards. Great, and then gently letting it go. We're going to do the same little rotation on this side. So it's just optional because it sort of depends on the proportions of your legs, but I'm going to step my back knee back just a little bit. You want to aim to be kneeling on the top of your femur, not on your kneecap. That is a little bit flexibility dependent, but it's always uncomfortable to bend your knee if you're kneeling right on top of your poor little kneecap. But as you bend beyond that, you should then be resting onto the flat bit of the femur, so it's no longer bony and uncomfortable. So work towards kneeling onto the front side of that femur. So again, and maybe you can see better on this time, we're going to draw the foot in towards your bum and you can just stay with it like this. Or working on that rotation, fingertips have gone in the same direction as the toes. The elbow is then going to go towards your right, so out that way. Then as it spins on top, my fingertips, I mean, it doesn't matter, they're now not pointing along with my toes, but as I rotate my elbow on top, they turn back forwards, so now the palm is against the top of my foot, and I can push my foot downwards to, wow, really get into that quad. Big stretch. Try to keep bringing your left hip point forwards and your chest forward, so you're trying to reduce the twist. And we're nearly there, we're nearly going to be flipping that grip. So breathing in, and as you breathe out, letting it go. So that's us all sort of stretched and prepared. When it comes to flipping the grip, it's a little bit of a personal preference as to what pose you will find it easiest to learn in first. I first learnt it in King Pigeon, despite the fact that I don't have particularly open hips. You know, I've heard some people say, oh, that's really not a good one to try and learn in first because you need such flexible hips. I disagree. I don't have particularly flexible external rotation in my hips, but that is certainly one that I learned first. These days, I probably find it the easiest one. I also find a lunge, so in this shape with a flipped grip, a really accessible one for me. However, the balance is a lot harder than it is in King Pigeon. So I'm going to go through it in King Pigeon, hoping that you sort of have a similar practice to mine and that you actually find this one the easiest. So I'm going to first demo it with the strap because it's where I learnt to do it. It's a safe way to do it, and it helps you get that sort of figuring out the movement. Because, you know, there might be quite a few people that have the flexibility they need, but they just can't figure out where to put their limbs and whatnot. So using a strap to make it easier to begin with is a great place to be. So I'm going to spin this way so that you can see a little better. So I'm going to come into my pigeon pose. So my right knee is coming just wider than my right wrist. I'm letting the back knee wriggle away from me until I've sort of found that sunken. You know, I've got a gap underneath my right hip at the minute, but that's okay because I'm actively pressing down to help me keep my balance. So when we start bending the back leg, that's when the balance becomes tricky, when your hips aren't very open, because I'm no longer sat somewhere. But use that as an opportunity to keep active in your legs. So I'm pressing my shin down, so I'm not really sinking, I'm almost lifting up. So this strap is useful, like I say, because it's got the two loops. So I can loop one into my foot, and you can do that before you get into the pose if it's feeling too hard for you to sort of loop it whilst trying to hold your pigeon pose. So get that foot looped. So then, and I've lost my strap now. So once you're then in your pigeon pose and you've got that loop, we are going to hold on to the strap same way as we just did with, so leave your right hand down for your balance. So my palm is going to face the sky, and therefore the eye of my elbow is also facing the sky. I'm going to keep my foot flexed because if I point it, the strap is more likely to slide off. So palm and eye of the elbow to the sky. I'm keeping my chest trying to face forwards, and my shoulder blade is squeezing back, so it's in towards my spine. So I actively bend my knee. I'm thinking of my heel towards my bum. So obviously my elbow is bent because my foot has got closer, but still palm is to the sky and the eye of the elbow is to the sky. Keeping hold of that here, the elbow then goes out to the side, so out towards the left-hand side because I'm working my left flipped grip. So elbow has gone out to the side. I'm then going to take my elbow towards the sky. It's quite a simple, when you've got a big long strap, it's quite a simple rotation. So elbow to the side, up above the head, at which point your hand can then turn downwards slightly, because if you were holding your foot, you would then have your hold over the top of your foot. So there we've got it. We've got one hand into a flipped grip. Here is a really good stance to then work on your strength in holding this king pigeon pose. Press your shin down. Maybe you can take your right hand, reach it up, reach it over, and it might find the strap as well. So you'll feel that it's a little bit wobbly, but you're working on your strength to hold that in. I'm going to spin around. Actually, I could just do the other hip this way. So we're then going to do that same shape. I'm going to sort of demo it without a strap. I mean, it's the same movement. It's just that it's going to be harder. You've got less space to play with. So remember that if you're struggling to find it without a strap, think of that word space. You want to reduce the amount of stretch that you've got to do. So if the shoulders are the tricky point for you, get that foot as close in towards you as you can, remembering that this bend of the knee and the foot coming towards the bum, squeezing hamstring. So that's a hamstring curl to pull your foot in towards your bum. So do that as best you can. So we're going to flex the foot, same as with the strap. So this time, my palm is going to go underneath the foot. My fingers have hooked around my foot, around the big toe side. This is a very individual thing. I know other people do it differently. This is how I learnt. This is how I do it. So this is how I teach it. So palm is to the sky. I've held onto the big toe side of my foot. I'm then going to curl my heel as close to my bum as I can. My thumb, is around the little toe side. So I've held onto my whole foot. fingers around big toe side, thumb around little toe side. I'm then pulling my heel in towards my bum. Elbow now sticks out towards the right because it's a right flipped grip and I'm on the right foot, right hand. Then it's going to reach up to the sky. Now this is where it gets tricky. So pull your heel in towards your bum, squeeze, 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 squeeze. And then you're thinking of drawing elbow up towards the sky and eventually arm in towards your head, just like when we were doing cow face pose. Squeeze the arm against the head. So obviously big back bend, but if you can keep that heel pulling in, your hand has less distance to reach and therefore your shoulder has less distance or less need for a larger range of motion. Maybe your left hand can then reach up. If so my left shoulder is a lot tighter than my right, so I can't find my foot straight away. So I find my forearm, wiggle my fingers down and then, there it is, found my foot. And I've got both to my foot. But if your perhaps your tight side doesn't work quite so well, hold on to your wrist, work that, and bit by bit move further down your wrist towards your hand, then towards your feet. As you come out, see if you can come out in the same direction. So elbow points out towards the right, drops it down, elbow to the sky, let your foot go and into your pigeon. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm just going to go through it into a lunge as well, in case that's a little easier for you. Like I say, I think the balance is trickier, but it might, depending on your hips, it might aid your flipping grip better. This time I'll use a long strap because, apologies, I know a lot of people don't have these infinity straps. Hi, Benny. So I'm going to come and bring my left foot. Let me turn it this way so you can see better. Left foot's at the front, so it's going to be my right hand that's flipping the grip. Now, I don't mean this to sound really patronising, but obviously when you're trying to flip the grip and it's your right foot that's coming in, your right shoulder should be the one rotating to reach it. If you are working towards trying to flip, get your left hand to your right foot, perhaps like in tiger pose, that is way, way harder. Now, the reason for that being is as we flip this grip, your hips can kind of cheat a little bit. They can slightly open, much like perhaps when we do splits and we've not quite got the flexibility, the hips open that little bit to allow the hips to drop. It's probably, it's not good alignment, but we're human. So the reason that the right hand to the right foot is easier is because there'll be a shorter distance. Your hip can open slightly, and then the distance between your hand and your foot is a little bit shorter. Whereas if I was going for the opposite, if I was doing right hand, left foot, the distance is down my right arm, across my torso, it crisscrosses the other side of my body. It's just further to go. And that's my sock. Obviously, the further that you have to go, the harder your body's got to work, the more range you're going to need. So in the lunge, we're going to sink the hips forwards and down. We're squeezing glutes to get our hips as low to the floor as we can. The lower we've got here, firstly, the easier the balance because you've lowered your centre of gravity, but you've also got that ability to be closer to your foot. If I'm sort of way up high, I'm further away from my foot than I can be if I get into that back bend. So that's why we've tried to warm up hip flexors and quads as best as we can. So strap goes, take it underneath the foot, so it's on the mat. You can hook it round. And with this one, you've got a nice long strap. So this is a good place to start. So I've sunk my hips forwards, palm and the eye of the elbow have faced the sky. As I start to bend the knee, I'm going to flex that foot to make sure the strap stays connected. Now with a really long strap, this is where you can work on that movement, like to try and get your body used to it. So palm faces the sky, elbow out to the side, right hand side here, bring it in next to my head. But take it back out the same way, back behind you. So this time, as I roll it in, I've got my arm above my head. I'm going to keep bending my knee. I'm going to do it with both hands because it's good to try and keep the flexibility equal in left and right. And then step by step, I can pull on that strap, working my hands a little bit closer down towards my foot as I go. Huge, big stretch in your quad. You can then sort of let it slide away from you so you can softly release the strap in the same way. So as you start to get more familiar with that, you can then start the process further down. So instead of giving yourself this strap, give yourself half. Then work on that rotation. As that starts to feel easier, much like when we were doing strap up and over, you can start creeping your hands in as it becomes more comfortable. So as you start to be more comfortable with the flipping the grip, you can take your hand that little bit further down the strap, perhaps the point where you're almost by your foot. Your grip on a strap is much easier because your strap is not slidey. So then you're pulling your heel close to your bum, get it as close to your bum as you can. Elbow out to the side, elbow to the sky. As the balance starts to become tricky, left hand onto the left knee for a bit of stability. Now, according to my notes, I think I've covered everything there. I hope it makes sense, but I do realise it's a complicated movement. So please do let me know if perhaps something needs clarifying, and I can always add a little amendment. Like I say, king pigeon is a good place to start. You're low to the floor, so the balance isn't quite... For instance, dancer's pose, standing balance, was maybe one of the last ones that came to me because I suck at standing on one leg. So try to find a shape that works, that everything else other than the flip grip is the easiest for you. So that's obviously going to be different for everybody. So yeah, I think I was going to say also the tiger pose, which is the one that we didn't do a flip grip in, which is from our tabletop position. Tiger pose is a crisscross. It's right hand to left foot or it's left hand to right foot. But I know that when, I don't think it has an official name, you can do left hand to left foot and then work your flip grip here. This is a generally accessible-ish shape to do it in because you're on your knees, you're on your hands, you've got multiple points of contact. But that is essentially a little bit of a cheat because what happens is, you'll lift that leg, you'll find your grip around that big toe, and instead of actually rotating, see how high up my hip has hoiked to help me do that, whereas actually the hip should be dropped down and square. So trying to keep your hip dropped and work into the flexibility there is what you actually want to achieve. Try not to just shortcut it. Give yourself a longer strap or, like I say, more space to work with rather than letting your hip hoik up to shorten that distance. You just don't want to be sort of twisting into your SI joints and making weird shapes with the body. I think that's it. I don't think I have too much more to say. So I hope it was helpful, I really do. And remember that this isn't something that you're like, oh, I've watched one video, I can flip my grip now. It's not quite as simple as that. Working on that flexibility, remember we're thinking side body flexibility, we're thinking chest, we're keeping the whole upper body nice and open, but also nice and strong. You need that strength to keep the body rigid and firm and safe. So practicing the movement with your strap as often as you can, and eventually, like I say, you work your way down the strap and you find your way to your foot. I realise I'm rambling. If you're still watching, you're my favourite. One thing that I sometimes do with my grip, so let's say you've progressed past your strap, is I particularly do it on my weaker side. So let me do it on my weak side to show you. So my left shoulder is my weak side. I'm sinking down into my lunge. Now, getting my grip, so palm is to the sky, getting my whole hand to go round my big toe side, not including my thumb. On my left side, that's really tricky. And so I'm sure there's many people that are like, how did you even hold that? So if you can see, I take my index finger around the whole foot, but the rest of them I've gone between my big toe and my second toe. It's just less distance to move. So then my thumb is around the little toe side. So maybe I'm going to hold that for a second. I know it's gross because it's feet. You can zoom in and see how I've held that. So my fingers have actually gone and I've held 4 toes instead. I've still got one finger around the big toe, so I've got a nice solid grip on the whole foot. But then as I bend my foot in, it's that little bit easier to find that rotation because, again, I've reduced the length, if that makes sense. I've made my foot that little bit closer because going around that big toe is like one step further. It's that little bit more to try and flip. So most of the hand through between big toe and second toe, and then just my index finger to keep a good grip around the ball of my foot. So that's it. I'm going to stop there. I hope that was educational and that the flow at the beginning got you nicely warmed up. Any questions, let me know. You can leave a comment below or contact me via Instagram. I'll leave my details below. But thank you very much for taking my class, and I'll see you again soon.